Thank you, Alice, and it's an honour to be invited to this, and hopefully look forward to working with the Progressive Veterinary Association on this issue. We'll start with education as a solution. Always do your research before buying an exotic pet, says almost every exotic animal dealer ever, because as a standalone statement it's virtually meaningless. So we as animal welfare organisations and veterinarians need to be specific when we're directing people to do their research. We need to get people towards science-based sources and away from guidance generated by trade interests, because that is what swamps the internet, and lots of pet stores carry guidance that is actually quite damaging. And this is so important because this is an industry that is dependent on consumer ignorance. So the first challenge is to ensure that people make informed decisions, and that they understand the level of difficulty in keeping particular animals, and they understand that some animals just aren't suitable pets. And this is a scientific, EMOD is a scientific peer-reviewed system that categorises animals as either easy, moderate, difficult or extreme. There are other species assessment systems out there, but this was designed specifically for the layperson to use. So there's a website available that has a very user-friendly interface where you enter the species or the common name and get your result. And if it's a species not commonly found in the pet trade, then the system, the website guides you through 6 questions to get your result, and any important public health cautions as well. So we also support the idea of an objective labelling scheme for pet animals at the point of sale, which would be based on the EMOD system and would look something like this in the pet shop, or the information would be conveyed through online ads or print ads. And this gives the people a lot of information at a glance, including that public health information. And such a scheme would have to be compulsory, because obviously it meets with a lot of resistance from the pet trade, again because they rely on consumer ignorance, but it would effectively counter the mismarketing of a lot of species as easy to keep or suitable for beginners. Most, if not all, of the problems that Clifford mentioned simply won't be addressed without radical and widespread change to the way this trade is regulated. And without such regulatory change, almost all of these problems will just get worse. So the gold standard method for controlling these issues are far-reaching and widespread bans on trade. And these bans have proven to be effective, provided the trade doesn't shift to other species. So an elegant solution to many of these problems are positive lists or approved lists of species that can be legally kept and traded as pets. And this is a regulatory system that's taken hold in Europe, and there's a push to make this an EU-wide system of regulation. So positive lists are evidence-based regulation that permit the sale and keeping of only those species that are suitable to keep in the home and that don't pose a disproportionate risk to people or the environment. And under this system, any species not on a positive list are then prohibited from sale or keeping, or can be kept via permits by people who have the necessary expertise or the facilities to look after them. I'll go back. Just another point, it's worth bearing in mind that all other industries that bring goods to market have to prove that their products are safe before being sold to the public. But for some reason, that system doesn't apply to the pet trade. So we bring in animals to market effectively that can suffer, they can die, otherwise they can inflict injuries, spread disease, cause problems in the environment. That makes no sense. So there's no reason at all why such a system of safety testing shouldn't also apply to the pet trade, and that's effectively what positive lists would do. So as Clifford mentioned, one of the key obstacles to securing the necessary regulatory change is the fact that DEFRA routinely prioritises advice from the pet trade sector over that of independent scientists and vets. And this is something that we are constantly up against. And the exotic pet trade, of course, would much prefer to self-regulate, but over the years it has shown conclusively that it cannot self-regulate in any meaningful way. And it also resists and pushes back on any systems, any measures designed to improve its practices. So as Clifford said, at present we have the Companion Animal Sector Council, which largely comprises groups with a vested interest, and they have a clear remit to advise DEFRA and to work with DEFRA to develop policy. So obviously not good news for animal welfare. So what we advocate is a model government consultation and advisory protocol, which prioritises input firstly from impartial experts, secondly from animal welfare, conservation, public health organisations, and lastly from exotic pet trade and keeping groups. And this would break the cycle of those causing the problems having a direct say in solving the problems. It should be those working to provide the solutions that have greater say. And I'll leave you with a summary of the recommendations. Thank you.